come up with something, somebody else can, we don't want everybody to feel too much pressure.
This is a round robin.
This is a round robin. So what was your happiest early childhood memory?
Well, that would be with my dad.
Warren, Ron?
Must be a good one.
We made a cry on the first question. Congratulations.
I thought you said happy.
I don't think it's going to go very far.
I think it's one fabulous.
That's fine.
Or I think of something he did that made you mad.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Tell us what he did that made you
No, do your happy memory. Go with it. Go with it.
We didn't sound very happy.
Tell the duck story.
Yeah, it was
About when you got the ducks.
Good cheers, good
Yeah,
cheers.
that's just some common folks. It would be my dad, and I was real little.
Four or five, you think you're younger than that?
Oh, younger than that, probably 2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
And he was carrying me from the car to the house. And I looked up and saw the moon. And I said, piece of it. Where's the other piece? From then on, he thought I was brilliant. And he told me the story over and over my entire life.
Where's the other
Did
piece?
he have an answer?
She's the smart one. She's gonna figure it out.
That's what I said. That's a great question. All right, it's inside.
You're going to bed anyway.
Yeah. That's hilarious. You remember your first memory, Brenda?
I remember, not very, I remember being in our car that we were, well, the Chevy car, it was a red and white car, so I don't know when we got there, but it was a brand new car. And so we were in town getting in or something, but I was really young. I thought it was really cool to be driving down a brand new car. So I think that's the last one we had. You know what year that car was?
54.
Red and white?
Yeah, the 54, 53.
Maybe it wasn't brand new.
It was.
Say that's
I don't think it was. But then we got that station wagon.
I remember the station wagon. The window rolled down the back, and so we had to ride in the back, coming back from the port. Is that the deal? See, we have people to check each other's stories.
it's all triangulation.
Yeah.
Things get a little blurry.
Speaking of Brenda and the earliest memories,
Oh.
one of my earliest memories was I used to be in Mary's favorite before she was children. And I was, like,
Are you the oldest? No, you're not quite the oldest grandchild.
well, not quite, but
The
I was.
first one was the baby, the
It's the only one around.
Right.
The only one around. But, so, Mom was going to be having Brenda, and so I was staying with the Brysons. And I remember coming back home, and I don't know why I remember this, but I don't really remember Brenda. I remember a lot of commotion going on. But there was a show on TV, and of course it was black and white those days, and it was dinosaurs. And of course at that time I was a very big fan of dinosaurs, but that was the first time that I met Brenda. So,
This was the dinosaur show.
and she goes way back. That's a good association.
She's like Wonder Woman. She just exists in reality. That's exactly
And speaking of my aunt that was always trying to get me killed, I was
Here?
Yeah. Well, the reason I say that is because I was staying with him in El Laredo when the big tornado hit.
And you were over Tyrius, so you were out on the bed watching the tornado come.
No, I don't recall that.
So you did.
What I recall was we were at a little
Burger
diner,
King.
cafe place, and it was all stormy, and everybody was kind of freaking out and getting all upset, and she grabs me, and we take off the house. I'm thinking, And we pulled into the driveway, and there was they had a little kiddie pool, just, one of those little tiny ones that I'd been playing in earlier that day, and it had flipped over. And that's when I knew it was really.
It just got real.
That's
Just has to affect something you care about. Exactly.
It's on the line.
It's in my backyard.
That was 1958 when the tornado went through.
Yeah.
And at that burgerteria, it was up above like where the prison is, it was up on that cliff. And you could see clear out towards Skelly School. And that's where Mom saw it, and that's why she ran out of there.
Oh, so she-
Because it was coming at you guys, because she saw it out the window.
Okay, that makes
People were all
sense.
watching
Because
it.
everybody was.
And it actually hit south of where our house was, several blocks south.
Yeah.
But it hit that side of town, the west side of town, but it was
I
south.
don't know why we
of the
went
refinery.
back towards the because she was trying to kill me, that's why.
Nobody knew what was really happening.
What?
Fortunately, it hit Skelly School and it kept staying south of town. It didn't come back into town. But those people who were in that at that time were, they were traumatized. Later, we had a neighbor that lived up the street, and every time they even talked about tornadoes, she'd go to the church, and the church was always unlocked. So we'd always go and play in the basement of the church because it'd be unlocked, and they always had Kool-Aid, and it was great.
So I'd like everybody to kind of comment about maybe some memories of Grandma Short, and specifically the one that I'd like to hear about. At least my father didn't think that she was much of a good driver. So I wonder if any of you have any riding along with Grandma stories that were a little scary. I know one time she just backed right out into traffic in Emporium, and she always said, well, they'll stop, and one time they didn't. So do you have any scary riding along with Grandma or Granddad stories?
I can tell you about how they always had these Chevys, and she said that they were land poor because they had all this money in land and she couldn't have any money. And so one day she just drove to Eureka and bought a new Buick. And she came to El Dorado driving her brand new Buick, and she was extremely proud of it.
And she wasn't afraid to drive it either. She
No,
drove
she
it like
wasn't.
80 miles an hour.
She liked to drive it, and I can remember riding in that new Buick several times, and she had a Buick, and from then on, Granddad had Buicks after that. Sometimes, if they were good enough for Grandma, we would have to have a Buick. But probably one of my biggest memories was when Larry was in Vietnam, how she collected everything in that basement. And we'd go down there, and it was like tables and tables and tables of these insulator things and different.
This is
bottles
motors,
and
tables,
bottles.
The deep freezers and
How many things of frozen wheat pennies were in
How
the
many
freezer?
pennies were in my jar and the washcloth?
I have the jar I gave her.
She wrote me
So those tables, my dad, at some point when they were taking all those they were antique tables that were in the basement down there. And so my dad had one of them in the shed over at his house in Hamilton that came from there. And it was an old drop leaf, and so Mark and I completely redid it. And that is the dining room table at the cabin, if you all go down there. The drop leaf was split on one side, and being dentists, we were able to cut a piece. And put it in. We repaired the drop leaf and got new wheels from, what's the freight, not Harbor Freight, Restoration Hardware. We got the authentic wheels, just like the glass wheels that were on it. So if you go down there, we have pressed oak chairs, because no chairs were down there in the basement, only the tables. And there were no leaves to it, and it's white oak, so we custom made 2 leaves. And they are
Tried to
regular oak,
stain
and stained to the match, you really won't notice the difference, but they are.
I remember the big cola down there. in the basement.
Yeah, so just real quick, any other scary driving stories? Sounds like I'm the only one that had one, so. Because I want to get into the collectibles, because that's awesome.
Ride with Grandma.
My story isn't scary, but I was just talking with Brenda on Facebook about this, is that I always remember that we could not drive past a turtle on the road with Grandma Short. You had to stop. It didn't matter where you were, and you had to get out, and she would stop, and you had to get out and grab this turtle. And then we would take them back to her house. We didn't just move them. We had to take them back to the house, and then we would use nail polish and paint numbers on their backs. So we were just talking about this.
My mom used to do it too, and we're like, I was like, is that a thing? Or was that just something that Grandma did and my mom did, or just?
But we can still see them in the backyard at Grandma's house.
They come to her back.
Yeah, and she had the turtles and
We use red
they weren't in
fingers.
numerical order anymore because who knows what happened.
Then we put down Speedy Red Dot.
Yeah.
It's winning turtle from the turtle movie.
That's grand champion.
And just, while I'm on the turtle, I'll just say one more thing that always touches me, and Larry's not going to hear it. But I was riding with Larry, and I was probably John's age, and he was in his truck, and he ran over a turtle. And I burst into tears, because here with Granny, we saved turtles, and Uncle Larry ran over and smashed it, and I started crying, and I was like, you ran over this turtle? And he's like, well, they need quail eggs. And I was mortified. They need quail eggs, and he's not here for me to report to there. But anyway, so I was just destroyed, and he was my hero, so he killed this turtle, but I said he was still my hero. But that drove me crazy. But then years later, he told my great-grandma Hogan that after that day, he told him the story, he said after that day, he said I could never run over one again, because I bawled so much. I had a major meltdown over it.
You fixed it.
Yeah, and I guess he probably realized that, they didn't really eat that many. Looking back, he probably, anyway, so that's my contribution.
Yeah,
All right.
he made that up on the fly. I mean.
Any other scary riding along with grandpa or grandma stories? Let's go back to the original then. The original riding along with when Grandma Short saved the lineage.
Well, that was great, Grandma.
Great-great-grandma, sorry.
Yeah,
Tell us the story about, because I don't think we have it on tape, as well as you know it.
Of course it's hearsay, but I was told this story all my life that my grandmother, Short,
that's
actually,
Clara, right?
Clara, she was crossing the stream over by Larry's house with a buggy and a couple of kids with her that were 2 and less. One was a baby and one was 2. And the water was too high when she crossed the stream, and the buggy turned over, and they found her a mile down the stream. And the kids were fine, and the reason that they said she survived was she had so many petticoats on that it trapped the air a mile down the stream. So
I think they were Coast Guard approved, but
Actually, I think that may be would that be in the Hamilton Grid? I think I've read about that story. And my Uncle George told documentary Hamilton Grid.
She's also known for the fact she took all 12 of her kids on the train to Chicago every year to shop for their clothes and stuff. Can you imagine that, taking 12 kids on a train to Chicago?
Imagine coming back to 11.
And she wouldn't buy anything local.
and why was that?
Because they were from
She was from there.
She was too good for these people.
She probably met her family up there.
Marshall Fields, is that where she would be?
Yeah, Marshall Fields.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Grandpa's cousin lived in Coal City.
And then, they had those horses, those imported horses that grandfather Short, he raised the imported horses. I think they were imported from Spain, and they had the great big horseshoes.
Oh, like the work horses.
And
What freedoms?
they trained those horses and used them in the farm, and my dad also trained those horses. So.
All right, what about favorite collectibles? So Grandma collected enough for anybody to have a favorite. So what was your favorite thing, either item or type of thing that Grandma collected? We'll go around and get everybody's comment.
Well, for me it'd be canaries. And several things about the canaries. She raised about 100 canaries a year in the basement. And she always wanted to get interested in it. So she would have me hand feed the babies. And she never gave me the same baby 2 days in a row. Which I didn't figure that out till later, because I just stuffed them with food. And they probably died. But anyway, she put the canaries to sleep occasionally, and she taught me how to do this. So what she would do if one was ill and needed to be put to sleep, she would grind up a dozen aspirin and put it in some frozen peas and put it in the cage. And over I saw her do this, and in 30 minutes the bird would be dead. So later on when I'm raising canaries, I had 2 or 3 that couldn't, well, I had 2 actually, that couldn't stand on the perch, and they were just a mess. And so I thought, well, I've just got to put these birds down. It's just not humane to let them live like that. So I do just what my mom showed me. Take a dozen aspirins, grind them up, put the peas, put it in there, and I go off to the shopping center. I come back, birds are alive. I couldn't figure it out. I mean, it should have made them bleed to death, right? A dozen aspirins, they ate the stuff, but they looked just fine. So the next week, I thought, well, that didn't work too well. I think I'll try some little higher potency. So there was some Librium pills left over from her that I had in the house, so I took a dozen Libriums and ground those up. Put the peas in there and fed them to the birds, and went off to the shopping center. When I came back, the birds were not dead. They were on their backs. They were not dead.
They were happy.
And so I thought, the next week I thought, well, what am I going to do? Well, I'm not going to be able to kill them. So I guess I can't stand the fact that they just keep getting themselves dirty and they need to be cleaned, and they really need a bath, is what they need. So I take one in and I bathe it, and then take it back to its cage. Take the second one in, and when I bathed it, and when I took it back, the first one was dead. And the other one died immediately.
Just
So
gotta
the
give them a
bath
bath.
actually killed them. But,
That's what your kids have been telling you for years.
I have an idea that when she was doing her little aspirin and pea trick, that she was actually humanely popping their neck. She didn't want me to know that. Certainly what she taught me there didn't work.
So knowing what you know about birds now, does aspirin have an effect on birds?
No, it doesn't kill them.
And I'm going to attest to the fact when they all die of old age, my mom would never puts one out of its misery. We have
There's
one leg
stories about
canaries.
that.
She can't do that. There's no way.
There's a story about when she tried to gas them, she put them in a
And
bag.
I tried to put it behind the car.
Right, with a tailpipe, and then what happened?
Well,
This is getting way too dark.
This is a good story.
Not unless you're very successful
my
for
bird
it.
friends kept telling me it was easy to kill them, you just gas them with some of the exhaust fume. Okay, so I put them in the sack, and my gosh, it was terrible. They flip-flopped, and I just, oh my. But anyway, pretty quick, they quit flopping. So I just put it in the trash can, I don't even think I closed the lid. I'm sure I didn't close the lid. I just put it in the trash can, went off the shopping center. And Pat says, what's going on? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, all your birds are loose in the front yard. I've been catching them all. Every single one survived. Not a cat even ever had come.
You just
Just tripping these birds is awesome.
So it didn't work very well.
Kelly, any favorite collection items?
I just remember the whole basement was full, every horizontal surface was full of something. And the Mrs. Butterworth jars really stick in my mind as something she had in her collection.
Well, I have a bunch of them because I was kind of involved in some of that. Some of the fruit jars, because later on I started collecting fruit jars. But I do remember that she had this one glass kind of platter that's clear. It was the Lord's Supper. And I didn't think too much about it, and I was looking through a book one day, and I saw it, and I go, wow, that's, it was really cool. I don't know if it was worth it or not. But the other thing that she got from Adolf was a Kansas Centennial pistol. And I always thought that was a cool thing. It was gold-plated, and it's worth almost exactly what it was paid for. It was cool.
Sandy?
I guess I was trying to think of what, I remember so many things down there, all those jars, and I was just wishing somebody had a picture. I don't know how many there would have been, but there were thousands. I like the keeping my jar, we just brought that up, but I had a fruit jar with a screw-on lid and a little pink washcloth inside, and it's full of wheat pennies, and she had my name on it, and I still have it with the washcloth in the basement downstairs. I'm trying to think of, and she had all these little jars. I was thinking, this is a terrible story. But, okay, so she had all this stuff, but and thousands that you would think she wouldn't notice one missing. Because I was really little, younger than John, we were very young, and I remember she had a little box that had 3 little teeny bottles, and I thought they were the coolest things ever. So I took it home, okay? And then, the Amber Alert was out for this one little box that was missing. I can't remember what it was shaped like or anything, but I was busted because somebody had to have it, and there's only a few of us that had been there. So I remember that when we went back, I took it with me, and of course Susie doesn't know this, but I told her that I thought Susie was going to take it. This is,
Under the bus.
I saved it because Susie was going to take it.
Yes, I thought Susie was going to take it, so.
Safekeeping.
So I took it home to protect it.
So Sandy,
So
when
she
you go to the
gave-
bank, do you tell her, give me all your money
Yeah.
because I got a cousin who's
They
Safe-
started to
safekeeping.
take these little jars. But no, but Granny, I mean, let me out totally. Obviously, she knew what I'd done. And she gave me $1 for
For being honest.
I didn't even pay nothing.
Oh, finding it.
So I found them and protected them, and she got them back
Susie.
safely, so I got $1. That was my Granny. I mean, she knew what I did. She didn't care. She got her stuff. I never did that again.
You've got $1.
But she
Child,
was
anything
everything.
you want?
I just remember collecting wheat pennies and putting them down in the freezer down in the basement.
In the
She
freezer.
said, Josh, she said,
Yeah.
if anybody broke in,
That's
they
it.
never look in the freezer for money, so
They
they always put
their money in the freezer. So Myra would get some money. That's what they
Lots of
always
money.
do. That jar I have was always in the freezer. That's why the washcloth was in the jar, was because the pennies were too cold to touch them. So you had to take the lid off, and then you had the pennies were already in a washcloth, so they were frozen. So that's why. Yeah, all the money was in the freezer.
Oh,
A
yeah.
whole different meaning to
And she had some alabaster eggs. She always liked alabaster eggs that she had.
Yes.
And she always called it cold cash.
You're right.
I remember her signing you the jar or whatever you brought in,
Yeah.
you were going to have to take out. So she would put your initials and maybe even the date on it. And I always thought that was fascinating. I don't think I got anything back. But at least she had a plan for how to get
She knew
rid of
where
all
it
those
came from.
things.
My jar was a maraschino cherry jar with my name on it. And I had it for a long time, but I'm not sure where it is today. But I had it for a very long time. This is pretty special stuff. I also remember that she collected all the African violets, of course, and,
Oh, yeah.
and all of the iris, and we'd go out in the backyard and she would tell me about this iris and that iris, and we'd water them, and we'd collect the rainwater. My daughter now collects rainwater. I tell her it's a family thing.
It's bad.
collects it, so
It's cool now.
And,
Grandma's
she-
cool.
Yeah, and she has hoses to water her special fruit trees. But I know that one thing that I had at Grandma's was a little dish that had a lid on it that had rings and stuff in it that you could put rings in. But mine had stamps in it that Grandma had collected. And I kept that for a long time. And then some years later, I looked in there and the top stamp was a commemorative dental stamp. Now, my grandmother died when I was going to med tech school, not when I was going to middle school. And it's dated 1959, which is the year I was born.
Wow.
It was like so
That's
cool
great.
and so great. I actually went online and ordered the actual commemorative stamp with the pictures. So it had a little girl's face on it. It was like celebrating dental health month or year. It was, and actually I think that 1959 might have been when they first started dental health month in February or something. But there was a commemorative stamp. I don't know how anybody why she gave me that. It had those stamps and that one in there particularly.
Oh,
It's freaky.
Well, I also have my own jar. I made it in brownies, spray painted gold, has split peas on it with a little smiley face. It had the wheat pennies in it. I did get it back from the Colonel's deep freeze. And then I remember her collecting the little miniature animals.
Yeah.
And when I went to Seattle, I bought her a set of 4 seals that I bought down there. And I have those seals that I got Grandma because my name was on those seals. And I do remember going down that basement and there was so much stuff down there. There was an old Victrola I remember down there too.
I think my favorite gadget was the 3D stereogram glasses.
yeah.
Do you remember
Oh, yeah.
those?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the artificial flowers. I was just going through
Oh,
my
yeah.
basement. Man, was there a million of the artificial flowers, and there was a like really creepy place underneath the kitchen. There was a storage area that was full of even more of the artificial flowers. It was like the secret, probably some little teeny cubbyhole under the house. But I would have never gone in that. It was in the basement, but it was like another door.
Kay, do you have anything favorite collectible that Grandma Short used to collect? That any memories of her collections that you had to deal with, or anything you want to share? Anecdote?
No, I remember she had a lot of dishes, and some of them were really nice. She had some of those hobnail ones and some ruby red ones. There was one big bowl and these plates, and she always at Christmas used to fill that bowl full of fruit salad.
White fruit salad.
Yeah.
And the plates.
And it had some kind of grapes in it. White grapes or
Red grapes.
red grapes? Okay. I don't know. I remember her trying to teach me how to make pies.
She made all different kinds of
Oh,
pies.
yes. But she would say, oh, just a handful of this, and I'd go, I want to measure this. I don't know how big that handful is, or that
hand's bigger
spoonful or
than
something. Yeah, so there was a few things that I got measured, but,
So were you
And she
able to
could-
make the pies then, or?
no. I tried, and I still can't roll out the pie dough like she did. I mean, I've given up.
There would be like 5 or 6 on the table when they were harvesting.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there'd be meringue pies,
Whenever we
there'd
went,
be
every Christmas and Thanksgiving, the
pies.
counter would just be full. Everybody had a different pie they liked, and Grandma
She
made
made
everybody's
sure.
pie.
Everybody had
My
one.
father loved raisin pie, and he would always tell us not to eat any of it because it was June bugs.
Yeah, June.
It was really raisin pie. We loved it too.
Meringue was mine.
Yeah, the lemon meringue was probably
Calf
calf
slobbers.
That's calf slobbers on top, so don't eat it.
She required 3 kinds of pie to be available at all times. That was the rule. And that's what we had for breakfast too. I had pie for every single meal.
The raisin cream was
She always had to have banana, and Larry's favorite was banana pineapple cream pie. But I like the raisin the best. But-
Didn't she bake a couple of pies almost every day, take out
Well,
the
she had
farm
she had to have 3 kinds every day, and all the cream pies had to turn over.
Oh.
So they all had to be fresh, so she would have to make, usually there were a couple cream pies, maybe there'd be a pumpkin, a banana, pineapple, something cream pie, and then a raisin, and some other fruit. But yeah, we had a lot of pies.
She actually made mincemeat. I don't know how she did that.
Yeah.
She used real meat, I remember.
I don't know how she did it, but
So 3 pies for how many people in the house?
4. We don't know who's gonna drop by.
The neighbors, did they like pie too?
Well, didn't she take pie out to when they were working in the field?
They always took care of a lot of neighbors
Oh.
and people that were less fortunate. Rising's daughter that wasn't really capable of supervising herself when she lost her family by the
Noble Rising, almost outlived us all.
Yeah, take the plate of
and
food.
we'd
I-
visit with
They would take
her.
food to her.
She'd send us to take the food over.
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
I'm sure all of us
And
did.
Well, I
what was the brother and sister?
I didn't
that
realize-
she took care of.
And Roy E.
But that was
There was a
relative.
lot of people.
No, it was
He
relative.
was trustee, but never took any money to be trustee, but took responsibility for helping take care of them and the groceries and checking on them and.
But I didn't realize she was related to us. Because that was Granddad's sister was a writer, married a writer, right?
She wasn't related to us, no.
I thought,
Yeah, she's distant. She's married into it, the Rising married into it. The Rising married the Short, I think.
oh, that was a way.
Yeah.
She
But
hadn't
it's
been
like
married.
that.
She hadn't been married.
No, Melba was never married.
No,
This
no,
was
her mother was.
Yeah.
She was
I've got that figured out someplace.
But there's some connection there
Yeah,
that I
there
was
is.
not aware of until.
But it's distant.
Okay, what's the oldest Short relative you remember? And what's your memory of it? The oldest for me is, I think, Pearl. Was Pearl older than
Yeah.
WR? And I remember Pearl, we'd always go over to her house and we'd usually mow her lawn, but she would give us money. She had a coin tree on the wall and she would say, money grows on trees, see? And then she'd give us a quarter or something. Okay, so what's your oldest?
Valentine's.
Oh, Valentine's probably.
I have, yeah, Valentine's older than Granddad, and there was a while when I would get to go stay with Grandma and Grandpa, probably because I had too many siblings that were younger, my mother was crazy. And I would play cards and play dominoes, and Granddad taught me to add when I wasn't very old by playing dominoes. And if it didn't add to 10, so we had the double sixes, then we got the double nines, so I could advance my math. And then we would play cards at night with Valentine, and we would play pitch, and my grandmother got so mad at them because they would table talk. Grandpa and Uncle Valentine would table talk, and they'd be partners, and she said, I'm only playing if you boys cannot be partners. And that was like the rule, because they'd say, oh, diamonds are a girl's best friend. They would do all.
Cheaters.
They had all kinds of different things, and they would, Hardy Man ate a toad or something. All these different ways that they would table talk. And I remember Uncle Valentine was hard of hearing, but he lived to be 100 years old, wasn't he? I remember his 90-something birthday, going to Emporia to see him. But he was very hard of hearing even early on. But boy, they were card sharks. And my granddad would say, bid 'em high and sleep in the streets. And he would always say that when we were playing pitch. And then he and I would play cutthroat pitch, too. Which I can't even tell you how you play cutthroat, but I know how to play 10-point and 13-point. But I'm not sure I can do the cutthroat
You
anymore.
gotta figure out the cutthroat thing.
But it's where you play with two people.
Oh,
Oh, you play widow hand.
Is that what you do?
Yep.
I don't remember exactly how we played it, but Uncle Valentine would come in and we'd have big dinner and then we'd play cards. And he was quite a character, even when he couldn't hear. But I thought he was wonderful. My mother didn't always think he was the most wonderful person.
Everybody has their own.
I
I
thought he
did not
was
think
great.
he was wonderful because he was the one member that I know of the family that belonged to the KKK.
That's what I was thinking.
You just didn't know
I was gonna say, the one you know of, your father.
Everybody was a member.
Everyone else is just a closet.
That's what I always remembered about him, is that I just remembered that, of course, my mom, this is what I started with my mom.
Well, but my dad, when I talked to him about that,
He goes to
he said he only went to one meeting.
Yeah. He never got his shoes.
One meeting every week, whether or not I need to.
One meeting, he didn't approve of it, so he never went back.
But he didn't approve of it because he didn't like the sheet. Not because of what they stood for, but didn't like the
But who
sheet.
did they persecute? Catholics.
What?
Who did they persecute here in town?
Catholics.
Catholics.
We heard that they didn't have anybody else, so they just burned crosses in the Catholics.
Yeah.
Well, and so, one of the ladies in town that Mom was close to, Martha Jane Ulrich, she was Catholic. And I asked her, I had some assignment for school to find out more about the KKK. And I said, so Hamilton had a KKK? She said, oh yes. And I said, so didn't that scare you when you were little? Oh no. Why not? Well, it was all my uncles.
I remember though too, when we weren't allowed, when we became Catholic, because we weren't Catholic when I was little, when we became Catholic, I just remember my parents, every time we came up this way, it was, don't tell Grandpa Short. I'm not supposed to tell him yet, it wasn't time yet. At one point they did, but I remember
What about, so oldest relative so far, we got Valentine. Anybody remember?
I can't beat Valentine. I'm sure I was around some other ones, but
There was a lady who lived at,
Oh, the Clara
Clara.
at the Harp.
Clara,
Yeah, Irma's parents, Irma was granddad's cousin.
Is that
Cousin,
the worm?
Clara was his sister, and so Irma was a
there was so
niece.
dang many of them, you couldn't keep track of.
So Uncle Harv and Aunt Clara lived up the road here, at the end of the road, and they had chickens in the yard, and you had to get into the house without getting pecked by the chickens. And then when you got in there, it smelled this horrible smell. And we'd always have to go. I don't know how many times I went up there. And they were not very well taken care of, which was Granddad's beef with Irma. And so my mother would go up there because she got along with Irma, and Granddad didn't necessarily get along with Irma. But in the end, that's what Grandpa and Irma were fighting over, was the care was not adequate. And like Linda said, he took care of a lot of people. He would be the executors for the estate. What were those, the brother and sister that their grandma and grandpa took care of, that lived together? I think it's with an H.
Harmon?
Brothers.
Brother. Was it
Brothers.
Well, I took care of the brothers too. The Hattons?
there was some.
Oh, Georgie Hatton.
Georgie
and-
Hatton. Georgie Hatton and her brother.
Yeah.
There was lots of.
Yeah, but he was he took care of a lot of these people, and like Linda said, he would take care of them if they were in the nursing home. They would go visit them and make sure they had what they
he was
needed.
usually like the executor of the
Right.
things.
And Grandma planned all their funerals.
Right. But Clara
Because she has
was,
the flowers.
Clara was grandpa's sister, and he was very unhappy with Irma's treatment. Felt like she wanted Aunt Clara's money and
Clara and Harv did not get along. And Clara took the cast iron skillet after Harv more than once, many times.
he was meek, very meek.
But we didn't call it domestic
I
violence.
used to like to have cherry pie there.
Making no sense.
As far as Irma, she took care of me when Larry was born. So I was staying with Irma. And she kept playing this record over and over and over. I wanted out of there so bad, I was about to run away. But the record she would play is the song Linda. And even at 4, I was very upset.
On the street, my heart skips a beat. I say to myself, hello, Linda.
Down the street, your heart skips a beat. You say to yourself, hello, Linda. Have you heard that song?
No, but we need to.
I was so mad at her.
Everybody's gonna be Googling this.
Anyway, that's where I was when Larry was born.
What about older relatives? What's the oldest that you remember? Lynn?
Lida, I don't know if anyone here remembers Lida South, Lida Short South.
Yes,
Addis mom.
yes.
And, Adams.
Yeah, she would come in.
And she was very frugal with her money. She expected the grocer to sell her 2 eggs or 1 egg.
She
No, it doesn't. She didn't want that.
Did she live here or did she live somewhere else?
She lived here.
She lived here.
Right up the street over there.
Okay.
She had a canary, and she fed it 8 canary seeds a day. And if you stay, one day my mother decided, Lida came to our house for meals a lot, but we never went to hers. So she decided we'd camp out there that day. And we stayed all day, and by the end of the day, she hadn't offered us anything. And finally, she took an apple and divided 1 apple for all of us, or 4 people, for the food for a day. We didn't do that experiment again. And
And her son's favorite thing was to drive a Cadillac.
yeah.
The opposite.
And she left me a couple of antique chairs and a table with a marble top. And the boys, Larry and Apple, she left 80 acres because they still bear the Short name. And if I'd known it, I would have changed mine.
Well, I can remember
Girls
Uncle,
didn't inherit like
yeah,
boys.
I can remember Uncle Roy and Aunt Elsie, but I also remember Grandma's brother, Uncle Roy and Aunt Blanche, up at Hartford.
Opie.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I can remember going to the dairy, when the dairy was, when I still had a dairy up there, and we'd get fresh cream, and we'd get fresh milk. And I can remember having a reunion at Aunt Blanche's house in Hartford. The house was in Hartford later, right?
So I heard someone say, I think it was on the other side of the family, that WR Sr. had to go to Opie to get a wife. Do you have the origin story on that, how they met?
Well, it was at a dance. And,
In Opie, or where?
And Grandma was there, and he danced with her, and then he wanted to go on forever. He didn't want it to go, the dance to be over, so he kept paying more money to the band. And he kept having them play the song, what, Dulcie Do?
No, Doodly Doo.
Doodly Doo, that's the name of it.
Simplest thing, there's nothing much to it. Don't have to sing, just doodle doo do it. I love it so, wherever I go, I doodle doo doodle doo doo.
And that was the song they were dancing to. And he told her, you know, that he didn't have any money and he was rather poor and all this stuff.
And how old was she at the time?
She's about 16 years old.
And he was how old?
He was, let's see, 3 and 9, 6 years older than that.
22.
And so he had a fear of being married for his money. So that's why he put up this big front about being poor. And the first year...
Of course, you're paying the band off all the time. That was a story.
She got appendicitis, and it was a snowstorm, and the only way to get to the hospital 30 miles away in Emporia was by train. And so the next day, she was able to get to Emporia to the hospital, and of course her appendix had ruptured. So she had peritonitis. This is before penicillin, and they thought she was going to die, and she was hospitalized many months, down to 98 pounds of weight, and they had actually given her way too much morphine and gotten her addicted to morphine, and that was a problem. And there was a confrontation between her father and WR, my dad, over whether she should go to surgery, because the surgery could kill her, and if they didn't, she'd probably die. And Dad was the one that had the courage to say that to operate, which saved her life. They were able to clean out a lot of that, and so she was really sick. And she was very sad, and he tried to figure out why, and she said, well, because we don't have the money for this hospitalization and all that. And he told her, look out the window, there's the new car I bought her. I want to see you. So it was really fine, you know. So that's how she found out they had money.
Well, was this before they were married? Because she had appendicitis?
She was married about a year. She would have been, she was 16.
Oh, they were still married when she didn't know yet.
Oh, and she didn't?
Yeah. So, you
That's
know.
the way the story goes.
And then when she came home from the hospital finally, they were able to get her over the morphine addiction with wine. Homemade wine under the bed. And she had a tube, she sipped that wine over.
Wow. Was this in what year was this then? 30s?
Well,
20s?
Okay, she's born in 9, and this is when she was probably
25.
She was 16 when she got married, so she was either 16, probably 17 at the time this, because she'd been married about a year. And then she, of course, went on to have 5 kids, and Alfie had never had a drinking problem or anything. But that's how they got her over it. And her dad was real instrumental in helping. Her dad, Jack, used to live with them off and on, and used to put wire up around the trees, keep the cats from climbing the trees out of your place, the farm.
Why?
Well, the cats hurt the cherry trees. There were several cherry trees back there, little sliver's of cherry trees in the back. he would have the cats down and he'd squirt the milk in the cats' mouths and that kind of thing. But he was really, I was 3 years old, and he was really my companion. So he would stay with him for months.
Jack Chamberlain.
Mother always told a story about how her grandpa and her sat on the porch, and I don't know what came up, but something about a horse thief. Oh, and Mother said, don't ever look up your family history because there'll be a horse thief. And come to find out one of his brothers or some of his family had stole a horse and was killed for it or something.
Yeah.
Well,
Bruce had another angle on that.
Which part?
Well, you kind of thought they had ridden with some more famous horse thieves.
Well, they knew a lot of people in Clay County, Missouri. I don't think the timing was right. He would have been much too young to have hung out with some of the bad sort. But he was kind of famous for saying, don't look in your family tree, you'll find a horse thief. But didn't he come over? He didn't come over, but his family was originally from England. So wasn't it one time somebody came over from England to see him, or there was some connection with that? But he was never very open about talking about his family. But and then he was involved in some cattle rides too, right? You remember that? You heard that? One of the stories I remember that Dad talked about is that he was working for some big cattle company, and he was transporting almost a trainload of cattle. And of course there were some passengers on there, and the conductor or whoever was coming through collected the tickets, and he didn't have a ticket. And he was dressed real scruffy, and the guy said, well, I'm going to kick you off the train. He said, okay, but all those cattle are going with me. And he said, oh, never mind.
And all the cattle had tickets, though. No.
You know,
It's all had no cattle.
they loaded the cattle like that.
Yeah, I remember
Down
the
here,
stockyard.
they would just drive them out to the farm and have the horses and just herd them out there.
I've got a picture of him when he was posing with a cigar and a cowboy hat, his boots and stuff. Old photo of that. But I think he was involved in some kind of cattle drive thing. And then there was the other story about somebody got killed, murdered, and they chased this fellow and caught up with him, and I think they lynched him. And he was a half-breed, or that was it. Of course, these stories are very vague in my mind, and they were probably very vague in my father's mind when he'd tell me these stories. But granted, Jack would spend a lot of time at the different kids' houses. He'd come there and stay for a while and do all kinds of handyman stuff and tell them stories, I guess.
Well, Jack he was very big in Sunday school, church work and all that. And he was very kind, I read books on nature and walking around and taking care of plants and animals. And I don't know anything bad about him. They knew how to smoke meat, and they used the sugar-cured meat, where the Short family used the salt-cured meat. So Jack was really popular with them because they liked his food better.
Do you remember anything about cousin Melvin Johnson? Did you ever go out and visit
Yeah,
them?
I was out there, but nothing really stands out. I was with Jack Chamberlain when he died, actually. He happened to be staying with another one of the aunts at the time, and I was holding his hand when he died.
And you were real young, weren't you, like
Three or four.
3 or 4? Yeah. Yeah.
So he was real close.
Yeah.
Well, now, did your grandmother die first?
Oh, yeah.
She was gone?
She died because she had a heart problem and got some kind of medication and died 24 hours later. Short had to take care of the kids. She was the oldest of the group and packed the lunches, and so she only got to go through 8th grade. So that's part of the reason she married young, at 16.
She wasn't very old when she died.
In 1925.
The one that took you out, the grandma that died, she wasn't very old when she died with that heart problem, right?
Grandma.
Oh, no, she wasn't. I don't remember.
Because that,
But I did.
yes,
He was the only one of the grandparents that I actually
she was young.
He was the only one that was alive at the time.
Because
Grandpa Short was out trying to get the ice out of the cedar trees, out of K's, and he died of a asthmatic heart, is what they said, or something like that.
Protecting the trees.
Yeah, he was
Sure,
shaking
that's
off.
great.
Trees are still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. He was shaking it off, so the story goes, and had a heart attack and died. And I talked to Valentine's daughter, what's her name? Shirley, and she said that Valentine started in here to Hamilton, but it was in the middle of a snowstorm to get this doctor to come back out. And I don't know whether he didn't come in here or the doctor come out or what, but anyway, he went ahead and died. So I think with Valentine's story, or from that side, and then you guys' side, I think that's probably true. That's what happened.
So don't go shaking trees in the snowstorm.
Trees will take care of themselves.
We sat at the reunion last year, and that was, because I didn't know that story. He was pointing out the trees, saying, "Get the trees out of your place."
Too. My mom told us that too.
Yeah, but I just heard it last year at the reunion, I didn't know.
Like I said, don't cut them down.
Yeah, somebody died for those trees.
Yeah. Right.
So, does anybody remember Granddad's whistle?
Yes.
Did they teach you how to do the whistle? Can everybody do it?
Go, Brian. Yeah.
So he told me when I was little the reason, because I couldn't figure it out, and he said, well, let's count our fingers and see what the problem is. So we count the fingers, and he said, well, you got 10 fingers. Then you got one too many. I said, what do you mean? And of course he was missing 2, right? Did he lose the knuckle of one and half of the other? I think. In any case, he only had 8 or 9 fingers. He said that was the trick. So
So how did he lose his fingers?
yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I know it's an auger, I think, but that's all I know.
Yeah, because he told me, and this is, maybe somebody else has a different memory, but that he was cleaning a disc, that was cleaning off the stuff on a disc.
Oh.
But see,
I thought it was an auger.
Auger would have
yeah, it was something
Well, I
that
heard
had a very
different story
sharp
than that,
Okay.
I thought it was a corn binder.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
some kind of farm equipment.
Yeah.
too. Well,
Sounds like everybody used his lost fingers as a reason to tell somebody else to be careful. On what piece of equipment they're working on.
It wasn't a
His
finger
right
plucker?
hand.
That's right.
I can tell you how he lost his big toe.
Yeah, I look at that and you say, what's the one that you heard?
well, they used to
Have left to go get the
use
finger plug.
a big,
He can't, he's all right.
firewood, like a 24-inch light saw, and I thought that's how he did it.
Huh. I thought it was an auger.
Maybe it was. Yeah, it was
Maybe if there was 2 fingers.
one finger.
Keep your hands out of there.
He was
So how did he lose his toe?
They were out at the old house because the raccoons were there, and it used to get so mad about the raccoons getting into the old house, and they kept it locked up with there were holes in the old
Was it the
house.
rising house?
No.
No, one where their house is.
I was there that night.
He trapped the coon between like it was plaster and lath, I think, the old plaster and lath, and he trapped it, and he thought the coon was coming out the hole down at the bottom. He stuck his foot in there and shot it.
And Larry said not to do it.
He shot his toe.
Bruce, you want to add anything to that?
Well, that's basically exactly what happened. Dad and I had gone over there earlier in the evening, and Larry and Granddad, and the old house, they never kept it locked. It was always wide open, and so
Coons walked right on in.
well,
I didn't have to knock.
probably for 40 years. And
It was old at the time.
yeah, and they were living in the wall space, and they were getting the coons to think they were selling the pelts, because
Yeah, I'm sure.
Granddad was a big,
traffic and stuff. But yeah, I think, and when Dan and I were over there, I remember starting to have flashlights, and they knocked some big old holes in the lath, and they were taking wire and poking in there trying to get the coon out. And then Dan and I left, and then here, Granddad shut his toe. There he put his, I think supposedly he put his foot on the coon and went to shoot it.
And Larry tried to
Larry,
say,
I always heard Larry say,
Says-
yeah, that gun's on your foot or something, and he's no.
I know what it is.
Yeah, about that time back.
Yeah.
Well, we were at the house in town.
He shot his
when it all
toes
happened, And he didn't want to talk about it.
Can't imagine.
It was kind of top secret after that.
Did he go to the hospital or did he just tape it up?
he went to Doc Lowe's.
Well, was his whole toe gone? I mean, I don't remember seeing
it was
his
just
foot.
all- It just went through the,
Yeah, he didn't lose the toe.
He didn't lose it.
Yeah,
it went through two.
It was a .22 rifle. In fact, I probably have that
It
one.
hurt
He
my
was
toe.
bandaged, he used to dance a lot and yodel.
Oh,
You
yeah.
go.
Dancing yodel and eight finger, nine toes.
And he was the county commissioner.
Yes.
Yeah, we sometimes get to go to the big parade.
You
You
could
guys
get
go
the
to the
top
big
of
parade?
that
I
hill.
went to the parade.
Yeah, when he was like 70 years old, he could kick the top of the mower.
Yeah, he used to, there used to be a gas station down the corner of the KT station. And everybody would go down there and get a pop and sit around and drink and pop it. And he was always betting some stranger how high he could kick, and there was a doorway, and he could kick up and touch the doorway with his foot. And I remember him doing that when he was fairly old. He could dang the ceiling in the living room with his foot.
He had gigantic long legs. His
Yeah.
torso was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very skinny.
Did he teach us all how to yodel? You all?
I didn't pick that one up.
He thought he could yodel.
Who can yodel?
Did he have a song that he yodeled? Just,
He always did the yodeling, yodeling. Oh, we all remember should have the same song.
They do a little dance step to it, yeah, we yodel and dance.
Show us that step.
you have to show us. I don't remember. I never saw that.
I don't remember the dance.
I don't remember the dance.
I do remember the yodeling and the train whistle.
I remember most of the winter he'd come out to feed cattle, and when I was younger, 9, 10, 12, he'd come pick me up and we'd go feed the cattle. And of course, he always called me captain, and he'd yodel all the time. Yeah, but it was pretty
I
fun.
remember taking us for rides on the horse, Tony the Pony or something. I don't know.
Oh, what was his name?
I don't know.
We all remember Tony, the name of Tony was the horse.
We'd have to count the cows. We'd go out and he'd say, okay, now you count them and then tell me how many there are, and then I'll count them and see if you're right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I learned lots of math from my grandmother.
Count their hooves and divide by 4.
Was he always trying to get you to figure out range and section numbers and how they go in reverse order and all that?
How many people acre, that's his favorite.
He'd always ask, how many rods in a chain?
Yeah.
Go metric, Granddad.
You talked about driving earlier, and the feeding the cattle reminded me that the first time I ever drove anything was his pickup, where he just says, here, scoot over here, and you hold the wheel. I couldn't see over the dashboard enough to know that what was there, was I going off a cliff? I remember being terrified, and he just crawls out.
He'd be holding the wheel and he'd be looking over. our head.
And he gets in the back of the truck, and he's just throwing off the food, and all I can think is, you're just holding the wheel on this truck, wondering if you're going to go off the edge of,
Because normally you do that without anybody.
Yes.
He just crawled out and leave me there holding the steering
Yeah,
wheel.
most of the time he'd do that by himself.
Right.
Remembering it, I said,
You were not gonna make any big saves.
You
oh,
said
my
it
heart's
today.
pounding right now, just remembering. I was always so scared that he would go off the edge. I was gonna, or he'd fall off. I'd hit a bump, he'd fall
What
off.
inches are out there?
I
It's the
I couldn't
beyond
see-
the
I
dashboard.
forgot this was
Yeah.
Kansas, I know.
Yeah.
They'd always come in with the big stringers of fish too.
They were always fishing.
Get out the camera, there's some fish to take a picture
They have a
of.
picture. It was
There's always the fish. I have so many
Does
pictures
anybody
of my
remember
brother
going
with
to
fish.
spend Easter on the creek? We all had covered dishes and everybody was out there with Easter.
I remember going out to
On the creek bank.
the down below Larry's and you guys had the camper up above, but I don't remember it being Easter. Was it Easter?
We spent Easter out there.
I don't know. I tried to sunbathe and my mother would throw fish on me.
Good times.
Good times. We go to the low water bridge too, which wasn't, where's
Yes.
the low water bridge? It's
Somewhere,
someplace.
Over by Carson.
I remember Bill got a leech there, that was horrible.
Which got Rocky Bottom? Did you go to Rocky Bottom?
That maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
The place where you walk
We
through.
took a soap stop.
Yeah, Bill got a leech.
Is that where the
That's
soap stones
Yeah.
were?
Rocky Bottom. It's just north of town.
Yeah.
Go by the county farm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a leech was.
Right.
but that was
Kind
it.
of.
I could drive there if you told me. I know how to go out that way.
Yeah.
Go that way.
I just pointed it out on the road, right down.
I still remember the biggest turtle I ever saw in my life. They caught down there at the creek, and your dad shot it and killed it. It took so many shots.
It's a snapping turtle.
It was a giant, the biggest turtle ever. I mean, it was, and yeah, it took like many shots. And that was back to my turtle
So,
Consistent thing.
Larry and Apple both.
Turtle
Yes.
No, but that one was huge. The one your dad killed was huge. It probably had to die.
It has a dog.
They explained that it was a small fish off of the line.
Well, did you see the downfall on the back?
It was huge.
Put them in a bag on an exhaust.
First time some of those asked me to.
Anybody dig worms with grandma? Anybody ever dig?
And dig farm fishing. If you want to go fishing, you have to go out to the farm and dig worms first.
Oh, yeah, and you dug them right by the little
Sun.
bin, right?
In the back here, in the back of the house.
Either that or flip over a cow patty and they dig underneath it.
Yeah. That works every time. Well, I do remember one story that Grandma would, or maybe you're in it for the story, but he did a lot of trapping, and they would trap and skin about anything, including skunks, and sell the pelts. And I guess there was a salesman, door-to-door salesman that would come by pretty often, and Granddad decided he was being a little too friendly with Grandma. He was coming by a little too frequently. And so one time he took some of the skunk scent sacks that he had collected, and for what purpose I do not know.
For this specific
For this specific purpose. Hello?
That's what you call forethought.
Somehow that got in this fellow's car, and he never came back.
What about the guy who wrote poetry to Granny? Didn't she have poetry that somebody who wrote her?
Russell.
Yes.
You're talking about Russell.
Russell was harmless.
Well, somebody who has the story on Russell, because he was at least slow and
Not quite right.
Yeah.
Not like about.
He had to drive a lawnmower around town.
Yeah.
Couldn't drive.
Okay.
A lawnmower around town.
who was he related to?
The Smiths.
The Smiths? And so he actually had a crush on all the little old ladies. He would write poetry to my other grandma also.
He wasn't just with one.
Hamilton, for being a small town, had more than its fair share of eccentric characters. Burt Bentley. Who was that one guy, the tall guy?
Hours,
But anyway, yeah, there were several strange characters.
No, it was a different one. Melva, I don't know what her last name was, but she was ride a horse. And she, while the people were cattle, and she'd charge you with that horse. And coming from school, that was a challenge. You just charged in any house you saw. That was tasty.
Makes your walk home interesting. Wonder if that crazy lady on the horse is out there.
Yeah.
Jim was like, "Hey, why we have a horse?"
Yeah.
If he had a horse.
We accepted it. You
Yeah.
know, and we
It's the way it was.
This is the way the world is.
Nobody locks their doors anyway. So,
Right. No, I never-
so, you know,
Just run in the house.
just run in.
Any house.
Anyway, that was real common when I'd come from school.
Nobody else thought that was unusual.
So,
It was Melvin.
Yeah.
well, Melody already talked about a little bit of mischief that she got into, that she got caught. Was it Melody or Sandy? I'm sorry, Sandy. Sandy was the.
She blames it all on everybody else.
So, is there any other stories that people can think of a time where you did something you weren't supposed to and you got busted for it? Anything interesting?
What- you can tell the story, the only person Grandma Short spanked. Grandma Short spanked one person.
She spanked Bill. That was the only.
He's not here to tell.
He's not here to defend.
Why did you spank Bill?
Well, she was taking care of him, and she wanted to go to the beauty shop, and it was just right next door behind us, and he wouldn't cooperate. And she bribed him with everything she could think of, and finally she And she never spanked any of the kids either. I never got spanking.
She was,
No,
you could do whatever you wanted. You could
Yeah.
have ice cream for
Always.
breakfast,
Actually,
sleep in the chair.
That's it, Mike says.
Chocolate on the ice cream.
when I would get in trouble, I would be confined to my room. And then she would go to her room, there was a little area between there, and all I had to do was open the window, and then off I'd go and play and see my friends and whatever, and came back, and I never was caught. Never.
Now, we were upstairs one time.
Oh, I was probably John's age, 10, 11.
Don't give me ideas. I'm sneaking
That's
out.
how I got out of the house.
You were on the first floor.
Yeah, everybody's Sean's
We were all on the first
It was,
floor.
he said the perfect age.
More she just.
You just don't know it. It's the perfect age of all.
We went upstairs and
Just before you have all that
and I went upstairs and we found these records in an old record player. And we played the Purple People Eater.
Over and over and over again.
Anyway, we were quiet for a long time and it didn't disturb anybody, but somehow they found out and that was like stuff we weren't supposed to touch, I guess. But we didn't mess it up. We just played it a lot. There were some other records there and a record player. We plugged it in and it worked. And
Probably singing for you.
Whose records were they? She had Purple People Eater.
Anything, she was good about protecting people's stuff if it was there, she was.
Was it one? That's our favorite, obviously. I don't know how I would have known that song if I hadn't found one of those records upstairs. There were others, I can't tell you what other ones we played, but we did like that one.
Yeah, that was a number.
And we were up there all day and people didn't go looking for us or anything. Nobody cared, but when they figured out where we'd been, we didn't tear up anything. We didn't destroy it, but it was like, it's not our stuff. We didn't know, it wasn't them.
I remember she would
There wasn't
play
real
horse.
consequence.
She played horse with me where she'd get on her hands and knees and then I rode on her back around the house. She wouldn't let Brian do that. I guess when I was out of town, I got to play horse.
We did sit on Grandma's lap too. And at one point I was considered too big to sit on Grandma's lap. It was really devastating. Because my younger siblings were allowed to sit on Grandma's lap and I couldn't anymore.
What kind of rules did she have for you? None. What could you eat?
Anything candy bar. And if you wanted it for breakfast, she would make you whatever you want. I always wanted hamburger gravy and biscuits for breakfast. She would make you anything you wanted for breakfast. Anything.
When I was a little girl, we'd get in the car and come this way, and my dad's parents lived in the halfway house between Madison and Hamilton. And I'd say to my mother,
Yeah, not the other time.
Yeah, not the
That's a different connotation, you know.
it was halfway between Madison and Hamilton. So I would say to my mother, are we going to see Grandma Cookie or Grandma Candy? Because Grandma Short gave us only Hershey's milk chocolate, which actually plain milk chocolate is a very good treat. It's gone from the oral cavity in 15 seconds. She probably didn't know that. Maybe she did.
That's why she put the stamp in there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she may have been health conscious that way, but she's the one that taught me bulimia. So I was standing at staying behind her at the sink, and she was taking a big bite of pie or something. It's like,
Chewed it up.
what is? And then she spit it back out. I said, "Is there something wrong with it?" She said, "No. If you spit it out, the calories don't count."
That's true. She told us that. If we
Yeah.
spit it back out, the calories.
She did that. She would
Oh, I got this
that was
message.
her dieting. She would food and taste it, and for the taste, and then she wouldn't swallow it. She would spit it back out. And she
I
also
mean,
ate baby food.
If you can kick morphine, I guess that's how you kick dieting as well.
I remember her feeding me, the weirdest thing she ever fed me was that she fried a canary egg.
Yes. Yes, she did.
What? Yes, she fried a canary egg.
I'm glad I didn't.
I
wasn't Grandma Short
Okay,
did that.
she fried me a canary egg.
And I remember
How was it?
Tastes like a regular egg.
It takes a lot to get full.
A lot of scrambled.
I think it was one of those you only did it once kind of things, but she'd show you that it was really an egg like a regular chicken egg.
Did she ever make rattlesnake for you?
No, I don't remember.
I had rattlesnake once. I don't know why.
I remember
She had a jar of rattlesnake, and she said, "Here, try this." What is it? I don't know, chicken or something. Okay, that was rattlesnake. I didn't need to know that.
she was pulling the weeds out at the cemetery one time, and she reached down and grabbed a handful of weeds, and she had a rattlesnake in her hand, and she killed it. And then Uncle Apple came by, and she asked him, "What kind of snake is that?" And he looked at it and said, "Well, that's a rattlesnake." She said, "Well, the good Lord takes care of fools and crazy people, so."
I've heard Larry say that, Julius.
Well, the weirdest food I remember eating there is when they were redoing the kitchen upstairs, and so
I was thinking of that.
they had set up the basement with a stove and everything downstairs, and we had Christmas down there. And we had, I think we had baked quail, and I think maybe rabbit, and it was actually not too bad. I'm not a big game person, but it wasn't too bad. But it was kind of strange.
It was weird that she had, I have vague memories of the basement
Yeah,
kitchen.
kitchen, yeah. We had Christmas down there one year. Of course, she didn't tell us what it was till after we'd eaten a couple of bites of it.
We go out in the ditches and pick asparagus.
Yep,
Oh,
that's a good place to find snakes
Green
too.
Asparagus, yes. I was scared to death of snakes, so I was pretty phobic because I knew they'd found them before, so I was pretty crazy about snakes, especially at the rock quarry. Mona tried to get me in that rock quarry so many times. But I wasn't afraid really to swim. She goes, "You can swim." Yes, I can swim. There's snakes in there. There's more snakes up there in the rocks.
You're not helping.
Yeah. You do have to get out sometimes.
So I know that you palled around with Mom quite a bit. So talk a little bit about your relationship with Mona.
Well, she was the Girl Scout leader when I was growing up and young, and so did a lot of campouts and things like that. And it was real neat for me to pal around with Mona because Mother was more confined to the house, so she came at just the right time.
She was always fun.
And she was always ready to go anywhere.
That's what I remember. She liked to go.
Go-bug, I call her go-bug behind her back, I guess, and she was the go-bug.
Dad called her the road runner.
yep.
I can remember having all those strawberries. She'd make those freezer preserves or something. Strawberry
And
preserves.
Mona made really good cinnamon rolls.
Brenda duplicated that this last fall.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Better
Yeah,
than
where are
others.
those today?
You're better than others.
Very good
I
cinnamon
see you get your modesty.
Well, I used a key ingredient she didn't use back then.
We
Hard
crawled
instead
up-
of hydrogenated shortening.
We crawled up in the mulberry tree one time, and there was a tree stand, it was like a tree house up there, the mulberry tree.
No, but there was a,
Somebody might
Mulberry
be
tree
throwing
nearby.
mulberries at you.
Well, we ate mulberries until we got sick. We ate mulberries and Funyuns, and I have.
and you got sick from that.
That's the tree beside the money tree.
Now stop the onion tree, go to the
It's out
onion
it's out of
tree.
apples, and we were up in that tree out there out in front somewhere, and we ate these mulberries and Funyuns
Who are you with?
with Brenda, and we ate them until
I don't think I got sick.
I threw it up, and I've never touched a horrible, very, I mean, and they had little buds in them, but we would blow the buds.
Oh, yeah, probably.
How old are you guys?
I know.
You're
You
probably
had
8 or 9
older
years
behind
old,
the
and let us
house.
climb the tree, and they didn't care where we were.
Yeah,
We went down to play with the horses too.
just wandering around.
You can wander in those days.
All right, I've got one last one. I think we talked about a time that you got busted. So talk about a time where you got in trouble and one of our elders bailed you out somehow. Anybody have any experiences like that? Someone came along and saved the day for you?
I plead the fifth.
It's confessions.
I never did anything.
Well, I guess I
What'd you do?
would. When I was 16, I had a carload of teenagers with me and went to Eureka.
What? This is a premier story. It's first time told.
First time told. And in Hamilton, we had a volunteer fire department, and everybody responded and helped whenever there was a fire. And so we had a phone on our back porch that rang if there was a fire, and it was just, that was what you were expected to do. It might be help take care of somebody's kids in the yard or whatever, but it was, you were expected to help. So here I am in Eureka with this carload of teenagers, and we didn't have much to do, but then we saw a fire truck going to a fire. So I followed them to the fire, and they tried to arrest me for being within a block of a fire, and they gave me a ticket, and my dad was so mad, absolutely furious to think that I did my civic duty, and they tried to arrest me for this. So he goes down to Eureka, and we never saw that ticket again.
Oh,
And I still have, I still am that kind of personality that if there's a problem, I want to get in and do something about it. I think it comes from that fire experience. I know when I was in med tech school, there was a Bunsen burner that came loose from the gas line, and so it was whipping fire all over the two people that were seated in front of it. And as soon as I saw it, I went over and turned the gas off. And the other people that were watching were paralyzed, but I had to do something. And that's still what I do now, When somebody gets shot, I have to work real hard to try to save them. I just can't sit back and do nothing. They may live or they may die, but I've got to do something.
Or like when we were at the theater at the symphony and the woman starts to trip right in front of me and you reached in and kept her from tripping and I was like, wow, this looks like a lawsuit. I didn't even think about stopping.
Kelly's like, let her go.
Looks like a tour to me.
Let her go.
Well, I did catch it.
Yeah, you caught her. Then we had a big discussion about
well, I had
That's
one variation there, a little bit. So I was probably in college, and I'd come back to Hamilton, and Mom and I were playing tennis, and I got an altercation with a local kid. Anyway, so we ended up going to court over it. So Dad was with me and Mom was with me, and we go in there, and the judges.
Oh, but how did this altercation start?
Oh, that's a long story.
Well, Mom was egging him on, and
Yes.
Bruce gets hit.
It's only an hour tape. But, so we go into the court, and as we're going in, the judge, the female judge up front, and of course, Granddad had been county commissioner in the county for years and years and years. We walk in, and the judge said, "Hey, Apple, how you doing? How's your dad?" We're going, "Oh, this is going to go bad for that guy." And it did. So, I got pulled out by
Bruce is saying
my
to change
next
glasses.
Yeah.
So what about Grandma Short, who has the best version of the story of her throwing water on the stove?
Oh,
No? Bruce?
well, the story that I'm trying to remember the details that Apple talked about. Of course, they lived in those when they were living in the little brown house out in the country, and they didn't have running water, so there was a very limited amount of water. And the stove, and I'm not sure what happened to cause the fire, but I don't remember if it was I don't think it was a grease fire. It might have been a grease fire. Anyway, the stove had a big flare up and caught the wall on fire. And there was probably like 3 gallons of water in the whole house. And she took the container of water and instead of throwing it on the fire on the wall, she threw it on the stove and it would flash the steam and instantaneously went up and put out the fire. Of course, the question was always, was that just an accident or whether she knew what she was doing? I don't think it was ever really answered.
She gets credit either way.
Yeah, she put the fire out with basically 3 gallons of water.
Any other?
My mom and dad went shopping in Emporia and left Vera, my sister, and me to get the Christmas cookies made. And we figured out we needed 9 dozen cookies for Christmas. So we started measuring out everything. We had a bowl for flour and a bowl for sugar and a bowl for this and that. And then we realized we had a big problem because we didn't have anything where we could put them all together and mix the ingredients together. So we got the milk bucket. We poured all these ingredients into the milk bucket and stirred it up and baked the cookies. So we were in somewhat trouble for that.
Contaminated milk bucket.
Yeah, but they were banana oatmeal raisins.
Banana oatmeal raisin, which I still make.
Me too.
You do not.
Yes, and she still mixes it in the milk.
And she does, exactly.
I mean, still make
That is exactly
recommendations.
what I make my diabetic cookies. So I have modified the recipe.
She doesn't share them with you. I get it. This is what happens when I'm at work and she did. But tell a Christmas story about how she got tired of buying gifts.
Oh, one Christmas, she and I got kind of tired of having to buy presents. You know, this is Larry's present for his dad. This is, Larry's
It's so much
present
work
for me.
giving.
And it was, yes, the women, 2 of us bought all the Christmas presents for all the men to give to everybody else. And so we decided one year not to do it.
Enable them.
To give them something ridiculous. So from Larry to his dad, we gave him a China cow that had a fly on its back. And from the dad to Larry, we gave him, and he was in high school by then, and his was a toy that wound up and played a song, with a bear. Anyway, we just gave him ridiculous presents from each other. And from, then the next year, Dad got back at Mom by buying her a fishing pole for her Christmas present. And she was delighted. She took it out, and this was a real nice one. And she took it outside and put it in the ground and tied up plants to it. Nobody better touch that fishing pole. She had the last word on that. And she brought in a mixer, and he didn't cook.
Christmas took a turn.
I don't know where the China cow is, but that was really fun.
I think I remember that.
I do too. You have a fly, it looked like a fly.
Yeah, it was a very realistic looking fly, yeah. It was still at the house when we were kids, I remember, seeing that. Thank you for bringing that.
Any other great stories that we've missed?
Good
Well,
for
there's a
good
time
for
that
film.
Susie was
Yeah.
little, and Grandma had an aquarium with all these fish in it. And these big snails. Susie had a delicacy that she was quite fond of, escargot. She fished out the snail and bit it to see what it tasted like. Give it butter and garlic on it. She didn't know how to cook it back then. She wasn't terribly old, but my mother was horrified.
Probably just once though, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how old she was, but she
Next
had
time we need
to pull a jar up to get her hand into the aquarium, I know that. And nobody was watching her. And I think I was supposed to be watching her, but I don't know what I could have done about it.
You probably handed it.
I suggested it is
They eat those in France.
They have shells to protect the delicious